Signals in the deep, markets never sleep. Whales move silent, but we speak. On-chain truth, no disguise. This is Leviathan, open your eyes.
Hello everyone, what's up? Leviathan News here on, well, it's a Friday here already actually. Could be still Thursday where you are. And I'm actually very much excited to have on for the first time someone to discuss a topic that we actually don't talk about enough at Leviathan News or in crypto media in general, I'd say. Nathaniel Fried from ZCHF CEX to talk about privacy and their new product, Privacy Pools. So first of all, man, thank you for coming. It's such a late hour as well on your side, so much appreciated. And what's up?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's not as late here as it is for you, but it is just takes over into Friday. But yeah, extremely excited to be here, and privacy is something I definitely deeply care about, and so excited to show you guys what we've built and why, kind of talk about more broadly why privacy is so important.
Looking forward to it actually. I was actually first told about privacy pools when I was lucky to meet Amin. He's another co-founder of ZCHF CEX. How does that?
Yeah. Amin is one of the co-founders. There's another co-founder named Zach Cole who runs a venture studio called Number Group. Zach's
how is it called?
Group. Pardon?
How is it called? The venture group that he's running?
It's called Number Group. Number Group. They've worked on a variety of projects. Zach also previously worked on Canto and he was one of the founders of Code4 Arena, which is the smart contracting auditing company. It was him and Scott. I also helped a little bit out on that founding team there. But he's got a strong track record of building kind of pretty serious projects in crypto, and then everybody knows Amin, and he's a
Nathaniel, you're getting disconnected.
Am I?
It freezes for a minute.
What do you want me to do?
Hopefully, we should just hope for it. I was just telling you because at some point, I don't know how it is I don't know if it's only for me or it's for others, but hopefully you understood. But thank you for explaining there about that. So yeah, actually, before I think it was probably even half a year or so, or even I'm not sure actually, a few months at minimum before you guys have launched. Amin actually told me about it for the first time, and it's something big that he's been working on with some exciting people. And so shout out to all you guys for building such cool stuff. I definitely got the impression that this is something very meaningful and serious, as we've had our discussions about it. And okay, I will let you tell us everything about it in a minute. But before that, if you don't mind, I want to present the winners of this week's sponsorship slot, the Squid Pass. The Squid Pass, actually the classic Squid Pass, which I actually bid for and won. You can use the QR code to see it, and I'm referring to the team that I've actually started working with, the fellow at the Frankencoin Association. Let me just share the screen here for a second. For those of you who aren't familiar, Frankencoin is a Swiss franc stablecoin. Markets today are about 99.5 USD stablecoins denominated dominance, and we actually think it can change. Quite an interesting case to argue about the store of value superiority of the Swiss franc. I will show you one with the pinned with the guy with the Squid Pass. Whoever wins it gets the QR code slot on Leviathan News on our stream, and also the pinned posts on our TG and our X. And here it is. I want to show you here now. So, and I'm actually pretty sure that you'd know about what I'm asking here. What happened 50 years ago that made the Swiss franc so strong compared to the US dollar? Feel free to check out Frankencoin ZCHF. That's the name of the token, by the way, as well, the Swiss franc stablecoin. And I think that this is the chart that says it all. By the way, Nathaniel, do you know what event has taken place 50 years ago that actually sets this off in a way?
Maybe something to do with the gold standard. I don't know.
Exactly. I'm not surprised that it's pretty obvious to you, but once Nixon takes the dollar off of the golden standard, this decline starts with actually a 240% win for the Swiss franc compared to the US dollar, and the guys at Frankencoin are trying to bring that power on chain with a Swiss franc stablecoin called ZCHF. Actually celebrated first major CEX centralized exchange listing today on MEXC. There's a competition there for those interested. People can win a lot of prizes actually right now for depositing or trading or inviting friends who join. So definitely check him out. Shout out to Frankencoin Association, Lucius, the chairman of the board and the founder and the man behind the idea in general, and Johannes, the managing director, it's called there. That's actually how I got to know them. I've interviewed him in January, one of my only interviews in the beginning of this year. And I'm actually very happy to start doing some stuff with these guys. Wait a minute. Some stuff. Something I wanted to do here. And looking forward to it. So definitely check him out and appreciate the sponsorship and the opportunity there. And all right, Nathaniel, we're here to talk about privacy. And yes. First of all, I called the episode "Privacy is a Right, Not a Crime," because I actually think it's something, even those of us who talk about it, we understand what it means, but we don't really get it, because if we'd really get it, we would have insisted on it, you know what I mean? And we don't. So, and what it actually means that we don't understand it. And I think that even someone like myself, who is very much non-technical and was attracted to crypto initially because of price action, of course, but very quickly it turned into and that's why I became Ethereum focused. I was like, okay, all these people are exceptionally smart, like ridiculously smart, and they're all very much also ideological. They're actually doing it for a reason. I don't know of any, I've been saying it a lot recently on streams, because I think it's a point that people also, they don't really get. I can't think of any other industry that is that much ideologically driven, led by many young people who are really, they're not into accepting the world they've gotten. Like they know the technology, they know like the rules of the game, they have enough information, and maybe the internet has achieved enough transparency for media or whatever for them to know all kinds of stuff about how the system actually works, and not agreeing to accept it for like the rest of their lives. And I actually think that DeFi is the best example I can think of for such a rising industry that is rebellious in a good way, like in a good practical way of actually providing bigger opportunity for a wider audience worldwide. And I think it's the most fascinating thing, and that's why I do what I do at Leviathan News and try to talk about it. But, you know, privacy is really like, the one thing I do understand is that at some point, listen, it's not what you thought, that it's anonymous, so no one knows what you do. It's actually the opposite. Basically, anyone can know that this address is yours if you've ever like interacted with anything related remotely to something like your name on it. And now whoever actually knows how to explore this data, they will know everything, and everything is actually transparent and visible, unlike the thought of, oh, it's a crime. Maybe you can do some crimes using it, but you can probably do crimes more easily and on a bigger scale if you use the actual system, because it's so easily corruptible. While here, if someone had the ability to recognize who you are, they can just do it. So how much, how absurd, I think what I'm trying to get to is, Nathaniel, and take it from there, as they say, is like, how absurd is the current situation? How far are we from actually understanding it? And okay, how do we start changing it with something like privacy pools, and then maybe take us more, we will just take it to more technical aspects, or usable aspects of how to actually use the protocol. But before that, I really want to understand, okay, how absurd are things, and what are we not seeing about the current situation that must be changed, and how can we change it?
Absolutely. So privacy is a really interesting subject, because there is kind of multiple areas where it applies. It can be kind of on the most extreme, where I live in the Western world, and so I don't necessarily think too much about privacy on a day-to-day basis, because in the UK, although decreasingly so recently, we have a relatively stable government, and there's not journalists in jail, but there's a large part of the world which does really need privacy so that they can engage in investigative journalism, they can report on corruption, you can have activist organizations, you can fund those activist organizations, but that stuff's kind of abstract to the average person, or the person that's not super interested in privacy. But within the crypto sphere, we essentially have this kind of original promise of pseudo anonymity, which sounds like it might go some of the way towards helping keep people anonymous. But over the last kind of 3 or 4 years, we've had the growth of these pretty sophisticated intelligence companies. We have the whole blockchain indexed and incredibly easily accessible to the average person. And so we've seen a rise in kind of 2 areas of problem. The first one is, that if you send money to someone, they can look at all your previous transactions. It sounds kind of simple and dumb, but if you're a business, say, the majority of the crypto industry is getting investment in crypto, and then you're going out and paying your employees. And so if you're an employee of company X, you can see every single salary that goes out to every other employee. And, broader conversations about labor rights and salary sharing aside, that should be your choice as an employee if you want to share your salary. It shouldn't just be something that's publicly available to anyone that is on the blockchain. So there's kind of this kind of common sense business stuff that you have in the conventional finance industry. You've got the Banking Secrecy Act. When I get my pay slip, I can tweet that pay slip out if I want, but it's my choice. It's not being kind of broadcast to the world. And then on the kind of more sinister side, we've seen this real rise in targeted attacks on high net worth or medium net worth people in the crypto space. So the large one that kind of got the most attention pretty recently was the Ledger guy getting his finger chopped off. There's this real trend, especially in Europe, France, and the UK, towards looking for these people that you can identify as having a lot of crypto, kidnapping them, doing some pretty heinous stuff to them, engaging in essentially thuggery against them, and trying to extort money out of them. And so crypto has kind of gone on this evolution where they said, okay, we want to have privacy. We'll build a solution which, allows privacy. So Moloch DAO and others went out and they funded some great innovation to create Tornado Cash. And they created in the beginning a system. It kind of evolved over time and they built some compliance stuff. But in the beginning, it really was a system that was privacy for everyone. And it turns out not a great idea, because everyone includes, Kim Jong-un and all his lackeys, and you're gonna, give privacy to threat actors. You're gonna give privacy to people that are, scamming grandmas and hacking DeFi protocols. And so the government has one solution to things that they don't understand, which is arrest people and throw them in jail and, deploy state violence against them with their monopoly of violence that they have. And so that's what they did. They went after the developers of Tornado Cash, even though it was an open source project and a non-custodial system, and the developers couldn't really do anything. But they went after them really aggressively. There's, it was a trial in New York pretty recently, and I won't give too much commentary on that, but it was, it's never fun being in the trial system in the US. They also engaged in sanctions on individuals, so the individual developers, and also they tried to sanction this open source code that was thankfully overturned, because that's kind of a wild thing to do, to sanction a GitHub project. But after all this went on, obviously that kind of painted the whole of crypto privacy as something that was for the criminals. But if you look at the numbers, like the amount of illicit funds going into Tornado Cash over the whole period of its life was, maybe like 1/3 of it was illicit. So there is this large, inflow of capital that wants privacy, thinks privacy is important, thinks, hey, I'm investing in this business and I don't want, other, investment firms to know that I'm making the strategic move, and just wants on-chain privacy in the same way that they get it from conventional finance. And so Amin, co-founder of Privacy Pools, Vitalik, if you don't know who Vitalik is, that's on you, and Chainalysis and some academics came together and they wrote a paper called Privacy Pools. And this paper was focused on the idea of giving on-chain privacy, but just giving on-chain privacy to the good guys. And so creating a system whereby it's non-custodial, but there's a third party that is conducting KYT. So not KYC, it's not collecting any personal information. It's just saying, where do these funds come from? Do they come from North Korea? Do they come from a hack source? Are they, funding child exploitation online? Are they funding Hezbollah and terrorism? If so, we don't want them. I don't want to associate my funds with.
Nathaniel, you got caught for like 2 seconds. Can you re-explain the concept of KYT?
Yeah, of course. So KYT stands for Know Your Transaction. So it's quite different from KYC. It's not about collecting personal information, identifying who is behind a transaction. It's about knowing where that transaction came from. So for example, if you go from Coinbase and then deposit into something else, that something else can conduct KYT and say, hey, these funds came from Coinbase. We know where they came from. We're able to identify the source of funds. And so it's, in my opinion, a better system for vetting on-chain. There's several downsides to KYC. It's pretty heavily abused, like across the conventional finance industry and across the crypto finance industry, with like money mules and identity stuff, and now increasingly AI being used to game these KYC systems, especially with like I don't know if you have it so much in America, but in Europe we definitely have, or maybe in Israel as well, we have the growth of these kind of fintech apps where there's no physical presence to them. You just sign up for a business bank account, and verify with Face ID and a picture of your passport. Like there's tons of identity fraud and money muling that goes on. And so KYT is really a better solution for vetting crypto funds. And the idea of privacy pools is anyone can deposit, illicit or not, but only those which are identified as not coming from illicit funds will be added to what we call what the paper called the association set, but it's really just a whitelist. And so when you withdraw, you can withdraw and provide zero knowledge proof that says, hey, my withdrawal comes from not a specific deposit, but like this long list of known good deposits. And so the withdrawal fund is providing proof that it comes from a non-illicit source. And that was the idea of the privacy pools paper. We had to make some tweaks to the idea to make sure that we weren't creating like two association sets where threat actors could associate with themselves and have their own privacy system. But privacy pools is an open source, non-custodial system. There's no point where your funds will get frozen. You can always do what we call rage quit. So you can always withdraw to your original depositing address. But you also, if you get accepted through the whitelist process, which takes sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes a couple of hours, but you can gain on-chain privacy without kind of the risk of your funds being commingled with funds from threat actors. Because on-chain privacy as a concept is different from other kind of privacy concepts. You're essentially gifting privacy to the other people using that protocol. So, for example, if I encrypt my hard drive, I'm getting the benefit from that. I don't need anyone else involved for me to, encrypt my hard drive. I just personally get those benefits. If I set up a privacy protocol, but I am the only person that is using it, then it's obvious that all the deposits are me, and it's obvious that all the withdrawals are me. And so I need lots of people to be using this privacy protocol so that my transaction can be part of a large anonymity set that could trace through the protocol. Does that kind of make sense?
Of course, and I was just wanting to comment that it actually makes it like the more people use it, the more private it gets. No?
Absolutely, yeah. And so it's got this kind of network effect where, the idea of privacy pools is to attract, good actors, for want of kind of a more nuanced worldview. And we've had pretty strong growth so far. I think like today there was or in the last 24 hours, there was $240,000 US dollars worth of ETH that went into privacy pools, and so it's growing, and as it grows more, you'll be able to push more and more money through it, but it has this kind of exponential curve where you need to have, if you put 1,000 ETH into privacy pools now, you wouldn't be able to gain privacy if you withdrew those 1,000 Ether, because it's obvious who it was. But as we get more and more, then you kind of, you can deposit larger and larger amounts.
That's so you actually say that the growth process, it has to be slow when with increasing amounts, unless there's a lot of whales all of a sudden all jumping in together, maybe.
Yeah. So the way kind of Tornado Cash worked was you could deposit 1, 10, or 100 ETH. Privacy pools is different, so you can deposit. There's a minimum of 0.1 ETH, but you can deposit any amount and you can withdraw any amount as well. And so you could deposit 100 ETH or 1,000 ETH into the pool, and then take it out in small amounts, and you would have some level of privacy. There will be a trust kind of, or if someone investigating it would be hey, some percentage of these transactions must have come from here, but I don't know which ones. But it just takes a couple of people to deposit, or a couple of whales. And we've had good amounts of funds flow through the privacy pools, and so you just need, it is somewhat slow, but it speeds up as it goes, and you can make pretty decent sized jumps if you're willing, and you can gain privacy if you're kind of willing to leave the funds in privacy pools for a decent amount of time. It works quite nicely for payroll, because you can deposit, say, 100 ETH in, and then every month you're just making small payments out, so it doesn't really matter how over kind of if you're not getting 100% privacy with that stuff, because no one's going to go and back and trace that stuff, or put their massive amount of effort to reverse engineer the system.
When I actually think about it, I think one of the reasons I haven't really delved into privacy and really try doing it is, first of all, I didn't know if I could use all the apps that I normally use. I don't know if I can access them without it. So that's one basic thing. But I think far deeper than that is the fact that, and I actually don't think that I'm the only one feeling this way. The way it was treated to, especially in with older kinds of regulations and stuff that we haven't seen so far, is okay, if you're touching this, you're probably a criminal. So I wanted to avoid even, I explored one. I tried putting some funds on, because my desire for possible airdrops was bigger than, so I tried ZCHF at the time. And I've already, by the way, then experienced, because it was a few years ago, and I don't know a lot now. So a few years ago, I really didn't know anything about anything, but I did enjoy pressing all kinds of buttons and trying stuff. So there was one transaction that I did with the ZCHF when I didn't use exactly the process as they said, and I used a non-new address So then I got this message on screen that, okay, everybody knows it's you now because you didn't use like a proper new address on it. And then I tried it again with another address, and then it says something like, okay, your money now is between like 300 different addresses, so you're considered secure. But again, I didn't just even know what I can do with the money when it's there, like if I can really do anything that. So I'm very curious as to now, like, how can you guys convince like people, and I mean rational people, I'm not saying like whoever's fearing it like irrationally, then okay, it's irrational. But how do you guys convince people to actually even try it without feeling that, okay, I don't know, I rather, because that would have been my like objection, it is my kind of objection. Like I'm fearful of trying this privacy stuff because it will be an address that is playing with privacy. You know what I mean? And it's a slave mindset in a way, but I do think that it's there. You know what I mean? Like we're used to it in a way, and they have convinced us with this fallacy of wanting our own privacy. So thinking about it as a crime, it's quite insane. The more I think about it,
Yeah, I mean, privacy is a right. So you have the right to privacy. It's a pretty established right. The reason I think people feel uncomfortable about it in the crypto space is because it's a right that's being given to threat actors. There is other privacy protocols that and other privacy coins that are definitely abused by threat actors. Price pools is not one of them, and there is some inevitability to not being at like, you can go commit a crime in the future, and there's no way we'd be able to know you committed a crime in the future. But what you can do is you can go back and reprove, and so there'll never be a point at which your funds are stuck in privacy pools. You'll always be able to generate that proof, and if you want to generate the proof to dox yourself, you can also do that. So it's a system that's set up in a way to protect users of privacy protocols, to make sure that first of all, the funds will never be stuck there, and also a nice little Apple effect there, and also it's a system set up in a way that is going to make sure that you can always provide the proof that you are not a threat actor. That's really the idea of privacy pools, is to be able to generate these ZK proofs without losing your privacy. But worst case scenario, you can always just dox yourself and withdraw to the original address. You can so privacy pools is for moving money through, and so you can deposit with whatever address you want, and then you can withdraw to a fresh address, and those new funds which are relayed to that fresh address are private. There'll be no way to trace them back to the original depositing address if you're following kind of correct OPSEC operational security guidelines for using privacy protocols. But for most people, it will be like you just deposit and then withdraw. There's no kind of complexity in that process. The kind of broader, more holistic point about privacy is for many people extremely important, but for the vast majority of the population, it's not really something they think about. But it is one of those things that if you don't think about it, then when you do actually want it, it's like impossible to claim. I think you see that in the information security space, where like you kind of don't care if you're in a data breach until someone steals your identity, and then you really care about it. And so privacy pools and these type of privacy protocols are built to give you the right to claim your privacy should you want it. It's not an expensive process to go through and at least split up and disconnect wallets from each other. But it is, I think, worthwhile, not just for the reasons that I originally mentioned, but as kind of an exercising your rights. Like if you don't exercise your rights, you lose those rights, and we can see them under attack. Like in Europe, you can see the massive attacks on privacy. In the UK here, we've got the Online Safety Act, which has had an extremely chilling effect on freedom of speech, with arguably noble intentions, but pretty horrific applications. You see this attack. It's all across Europe. It's all across the world. Exercise your rights or lose them. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just saying that, that kind of stuff, like you've mentioned with free speech and that, I've been following it like around the world, I think a few years now, at least from 2020, let's call it that way. But I think that, the last year, for example, with the UK, even a year and a half, I don't know, but like the last, I did not see it coming. Like it showed me how little I understand what's happening, and it actually made me consume a lot of content there. I think there's incredibly talented podcasters like in the UK, in England. Wow. I've now started really liking a lot of content there, and I think that again, like it's a society has to know what's hers, and if it doesn't like realize it and insists on it, things aren't actually stable. You know what I mean? Like things are actually flexible, and you have to make sure that no one moves whatever you don't want to be moved. And this is a process, like this is nature in a way.
Absolutely. And a lot of these like laws as well are like really tricky to roll back and combat because they do have good intentions. Like in the UK, the Online Safety Act was about protecting children. Like there's no one that's going to argue that we don't want to protect children online, but it's about the government's application of it. I'm a real strong believer in the idea of there's no such thing as a bad policy. There's no such thing as bad policy. There's just bad implementation, and implementation's been pretty horrific. And like you can see it in all of both the left and the right wing press here in the UK that it's definitely had a noticeable and tangible impact. And the way you get around that is VPN. You can see VPN usage in the UK has soared massively, but there was people that were using VPNs before. And with on-chain privacy, you have less protection than freedom of speech in most Western countries, and so it's really important that you advocate and exercise your right to privacy, and that there is you're not just broadcasting to the whole world every single transaction that you ever done on chain, because that's your personal financial information, and that's arguably the type of data that is most important to protect.
So Nathaniel, before you take us, if we can at least try into the DApp itself and show us how it's actually done, because I'm actually very curious about it for myself and hopefully for the audience as well. By the way, shout out to everyone watching. Thank you so much. Shout out again to our sponsors at Frankencoin Association with the Swiss franc stablecoin. And guys, please give us a like, give us a follow, give us some subscriptions all around the social medias. And of course, Nathaniel, 0x BAO and privacy pools. 0x privacy pools is the X account, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's 0x privacy pools, but you can just Google privacy pools and you'll find it eventually.
And start thinking, first of all, about your right for privacy and the fact that it is a right and not a crime. And I want, before you show us how to actually do stuff with the app, I'm curious about what can you actually do with funds once you turn them private? Because just by imagining it, can I access all the DeFi that I want to access after I do it? Can I have it connected to a credit card and use it, and then really have a credit card that no one knows is mine? What kind of services are available or will be available? Impossible to have available, if any? How is it? How is it going actually?
Good question. So it's not going to mess at all with the DApps that you're using. So the system in its simplest form is you deposit. Those funds are associated with other good funds, and then you withdraw to a new address, and then you've got private funds essentially that have been privately relayed there. It's not just ETH that you can do. You can do wrapped ETH. You can do stable coins. We've got USDT, USDC. We've got Frax. We've got loads of other stuff. If you're a Trump fan, we've got USD1, and so we're adding more assets. And if you have assets that you want us to add, then just tweet at me or send me a DM or tweet at us and tell us which assets you want us to add. You can obviously like if you deposit yield bearing stuff, that we've got some of them, you'll earn interest while the ETH is in the pool. But you can always, like, once it's been 3 privacy pools, then you can do whatever you want with it. And so you're just essentially getting private ETH on a new ETH address, and you can go use whatever DeFi app you want with it. It's really designed to be like a simple system. We're working on integrations with a ton of other partners. And my kind of dream and mission for privacy pools is to give everybody at every point when they're utilizing crypto to the choice to be private. I think privacy is normal. It's not our slogan, but it's a good slogan when we lean on it pretty heavily. And it should also be the default, but I understand that people oftentimes want to opt into stuff. And so my dream is, like, anytime you withdraw from like Coinbase or Kraken or a DeFi app or something, you have the option to withdraw privately. And so we're working towards that. We want to have, at every single stage in the crypto journey, you can decide if you want to be private or not private. It's entirely up to you. But I think it'd be worthwhile if I show how the app works, because I think that will be potentially useful. And it's also, like, not a complex application to use. You want me to jump into it?
Yeah, sure, man. Wow, it will be so cool. Like, is it something you see that is there a chance, like, to be
it will work. It will work.
Centralized exchange privately? Because honestly, I'm feeling surprised in a way, but on the other hand, I'm feeling what am I, stupid? Like, why shouldn't it be like the most natural? Like,
I mean,
it's only the one withdrawing the money, the customer. It's only his business that he's withdrawing the money. Like, why should all the world know that he's withdrawing the money?
I also think for working with exchanges, there's like an interesting system to build, in that a lot of the exchanges already have attestation services, and so you can attest that your money comes from a KYC'd Coinbase account, and then only associate, or in an ideal world, only associate with other KYC'd Coinbase accounts. And Coinbase could run the relayer, or another exchange that has attestations could run the relayer, and so you're going to withdraw privately from like an exchange's own system. And I think that would be cool, and I think that would be like a win-win for us and for the exchanges, and most importantly, to give people privacy. Definitely.
You want to show us?
I shared my screen, but it says screen sharing is not allowed.
Okay, sorry. Let me pull it up. Just a second.
Nice. Okay. We can see my screen. So the website's privacypools.com. You can just Google privacy pools. There is also, if you go to our Twitter, which is, if you just search privacy pools, you'll find it, but it's 0x privacy pools on Twitter.
What's the address again of the website?
Privacypools.com.
Privacypools.com.
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is you have to set up an account, and we're going to change how this works because people are not going to like how you set up an account. But real simple, connect your wallet. Any wallet should work. And once you've connected your wallet, you have the option to load an account or create an account. I'm going to not create an account, but I'm going to run you through the process, and I'm going to load one that I made earlier. So when you create an account, you'll get a private key. You copy your recovery key, and then you continue to verification and verify the account and get it all set up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to load in an account that I made earlier, like literally just before this. So when you load in an account, you'll be presented with, if this works, you're presented with a selection, like a drop down of the different assets that you can deposit. It will default to ETH. You'll also be able to see the deposits that you've made, if you've made any deposits here, and then you'll be able to see kind of the global activity and all of the information on the funds in the pool. So we're going to go for USDT, and depositing's pretty simple. You click on deposit, you type in okay, I don't have any USDT. You type in the amount that you want to deposit. There's a minimum of 250, but you can deposit any amount you want up to an unlimited amount. We're also waiving the fees, so there's no fee to deposit stable coins at the moment. And then once you deposit into privacy pools, the status on the right here will be pending. And what you got to do then is you got to wait. It can be like really fast. It can be like 5 minutes, but I think like our website says like up to 7 days. It never takes 7 days, normally like an hour or something, until we've conducted this KYT. So we've used kind of Chainalysis and Elliptic and other intelligence providers to check that your funds don't come from a hacked or leaked source, or like stolen source, or is on the OFAC sanction list or anything like this. And then once your deposit has been accepted, it will change the status to approved. At any point during this, like if the deposit was declined, it would say declined. If it's pending, if it's approval, you can always exit. And what exiting does is it withdraws the funds to the original address. So the address that you deposited from, it will withdraw those funds to an external address. I've like signed in with a different wallet here, and so it's telling me I can't do it. So once your funds are being accepted, you can send them anywhere you want. You're going to run into issues with gas, but we'll try and send this to a wallet. You have to select the relayer you want. At the moment, there's fast relayer. It charges a base fee of 0.1%. And if you want, you can send gas with your transaction. So there's a fee for the transaction, but you could also send along with the 499 USDT. You can send a little bit of ETH, so that because you're sending it to like a brand new wallet, you don't want it to be stuck there, although they have just changed it that you can
nice
the native token, but you don't want to have like isolated funds. You want to be able to at least do swaps and transfers, and so you can select that.
That's
and then
so important, actually, huh? That's so important.
Or else you just get like a bunch of stranded.
Unless you're just doing it with ETH, but if you want to use any other token,
and realistically, like stable coins are what people are mostly using for this. So it will generate the ZK proof. It might not work here because I connected the wrong wallet. Oh, maybe it will. Okay, and we will see if this how long this transaction takes to go through. But essentially, the relayer is relaying the funds to the target address, and you can see I didn't send any gas with this, but you can see it sent those funds over. That's the system. It's a simple system. It does what it says. You end up with on-chain privacy. We try to make it incredibly simple and easy to use. I think it's intuitive and simple.
I'm only now realizing how far from understanding it I was, because and correct me again, like if needed, correct me. It's basically that privacy pools, it's like an instrument, it's like a bridge in a way.
Yeah.
It's like a tool that with a few simple steps, you can go from a known address to an unknown address, because because no one can see, can people see that money went out from privacy pools outside, but they just can't tell who withdrawn it. So
so with the withdrawal, what you can see is what was withdrawn. So in this case, 500 USDT, and then that 500 USDT comes from a list of like all of the possible deposits into the pool. Yeah. Provided a proof. It's a simple system designed to give people
That's so cool. That's so cool. That's so
I think that's
simple and useful in a way. Wait a minute, let me do you want to show anything else on the screen?
No, I think I will stop. But I think like what I really want to like ram home is this is not a complicated system. This is like the simplest way you can give on-chain privacy to people. We have like a grand mission, and we want to be like integrated into loads of other things. But I think it's really important there's like a really, intuitive and pretty straightforward demo that anyone can come and do and end up with private ETH or private stablecoin or anything they want.
That's nice, man. I didn't realize that it works like that. I thought there was like a whole like inner world of.
I mean, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Like segregated DeFi or whatever. But this is a very cool and simple concept, just like you said. Of man, you have these funds right now on an address that everyone knows. You can very easily just. With this I went private, and now no one will ever know. It's quite cool. Actually. By the way, can you swap like if I've deposited, say for example, USDT into privacy pools, when I withdraw, I have to withdraw USDT, or can I withdraw like a different?
So at the moment you have to. So we're pretty early on in terms of a company. At the moment you have to do the same asset. We're working on internal swaps. We'll probably like limit the pool because you run in like anonymity set stuff is the challenge. You don't want like if only a few people have done it, then you can probably reverse engineer and figure out who they are. And so we'll probably have like ETH to some stable coins, but probably not like stable coin to stable coin. But we will figure that out. It's technically possible, but it requires like a little bit of work and a little bit of,
and also like probably a depth of addresses and use, because like, for example, if right now there would have been 1 million transactions of this kind, it would already have been solved.
Yeah.
Like if there were people who were willing to do it now and be doxxed, it would have eventually be enough to protect the others, no?
Yeah. And I mean, like, just the more like even with like the number of assets we've got at the moment, like some of them have lower volumes. ETH has highest because it was the first one we launched, and we want to like give it a bit of time for like the amount to climb up. But if you're listening, go deposit in privacy pools, and we're very, very keen to hear people's feedback. If it's positive, tweet it out. If it's negative, then privately DM me.
Nathaniel, how are you guys trying to grow the business? Like, how are you? What are your actions with with everything related to making more people use it and making it bigger?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a massive appetite for this type of stuff. If you look at the volumes going through like Railgun, I think they're on track for over 1 billion this year. If you look at Tornado Cash, I think they were on track for like 7 billion. So there's a massive market out there of people that want privacy. Because of the approach that privacy pools is taking, I also think there's a chance that, or a pretty decent chance, and that I think will play out for institutional capital to want to have either their own kind of privacy pools built for them, or use existing privacy pools. So if you think, institutional traders that don't want other traders to know their investment strategy, they don't want to know, hey, X whale bought, 100,000 ETH or whatever, or invested in, this startup. I think there's huge opportunity there, and working with some partners in that space. There's also like a lot of banking stuff. Like we've had surprising amount of outreach from banks, but that stuff is always slow. But the main thing we're doing at the moment is we're trying to get as many different assets into privacy pools. We'll very shortly go off ETH mainnet, so gas fees don't make you want to cry. And we'll go on to other chains. But I think there's, as the anonymity set grows, it has kind of this network effect where you can deposit larger and larger amounts into privacy pools, and whilst remaining private. And we've had like pretty decent growth. I think there's like, just on ETH, there's like nearly 600 ETH sitting in the pool at the moment, and we haven't been around for that long. So the numbers are growing fast, and there's definitely an appetite for it, I think.
How much ETH is what's the total TVL of a privacy pool right now? Is there such
so at the moment there's like 563 ETH sitting in privacy pools. I think like 60 of that came from just today, so it's been like a pretty decent growth. But like people often, like if you're depositing like 1 ETH, then you're probably going to take it out like the next day. You just want to have it privately. So in terms of total volume, I think there's quite a lot.
And is it people that like, especially at such an early stage, like, is it people that you guys like know and personally talk to and convince to, and then they do it, or all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, this address just
a lot of it's like unknown people. Ever since Tornado Cash got sanctioned, that people are nervous, and so there's a real appetite for this type of stuff. But I think like good amounts of funds have come in, but the vast majority of it's like people we don't know. I don't know that many rich people. I don't know about you, but
only PFPs.
Only Amin is the only person you know.
Good point.
But we're very blessed that Vitalik was the first investor in Oxbow, and so early on he puts like so when we originally launched there was like a 1 ETH maximum because we wanted to kind of war test the system, make sure there was if there was illicit funds that got in, our system failed. It was only like up to at the time I think like $2,000 or something like this, and so early on Vitalik was put in ETH, which obviously got us a bit of excitement and buzz, and so I think people know about us. The paper's been I think like over 2 years now ago it was written, and there's big movements in the Tornado Cash story that kind of signal to the market. Tornado Cash being unsanctioned is great news for the Tornado Cash devs, but also great news for the broader privacy ecosystem. And so I think people are warming up to the idea that privacy is okay, privacy is good, and we're putting a lot of work into making sure that the privacy that we're offering is just for the good guys.
That's so cool, actually, Nathaniel. It's such a simple and cool and actually useful product, even for people to try, not necessarily with a huge percent of their funds, but just like if they all of a sudden decide that, why shouldn't I test it and do? Because either way, even if it's with a new address, there are some activities that you probably won't be able to do unless you KYC it. Like for example, I don't know. Does anyone give a debit card without a KYC? Is it possible?
Yeah. I mean, there's always things that people want to do. If you want to do something weird, then you should be able to.
That as well, like in a way, I'm like, like we can never have any debit cards that no one knows what. It's kind of dumb. It's kind of dumb as well because it's like a debit card. Why can't I just buy your debit? Like, give me a prepaid card of X amount of money, and I buy it.
I mean, there's a real trend.
You know what I mean? Sorry?
There's a real trend in countries to like really aggressively get your ID at every point. Like it used to be that you could buy SIM cards in most of the Western world with no ID, but there's like now in Cyprus, you can't buy SIM cards without ID, and in many other countries. And so, it's your money. Like if you go to the bank, they'll try and withdraw a ton of cash. They'll ask you questions, but it's you should just be able to take that out. It's your money, and so that's what we want to empower people to, ensure that the crypto they have is like not traceable. They're not going to get like targeted in a robbery. They're not going to, the government is not going to come snooping because it's, compliant, and we put a lot of work into making sure there's no illicit funds going through it, and allowing people to like genuinely have absolute custody over their money.
It's actually very interesting, and I think if you guys can actually work with the entities that on-ramp the money, and then the money never actually touches like an address of the chain that can be related to someone, then they will like that's the way to actually get free, to get, I don't mean free, I mean like liberated capital, like sovereign capital on chain without anyone knowing that, okay, this belongs to that guy. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's such a crucial thing to actually address. And man, really admire what you guys are doing, and it's very useful. I'm actually very happy we had this talk, because it really shows me, it demonstrates me about like how I'm not even like properly addressing like that side of things, which is actually quite important, and can be very useful if now operated upon wisely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before working on privacy pools, I came from the national security space. I was building surveillance tech for governments.
Wow.
So there's this like weird overlap of people that spent a lot of their careers building tech to put bad guys in jail, and feeling pretty strongly about an individual's right to privacy, which sounds a bit contradictory, but there's a lot of people that I think are in similar position to me. If you go and talk to some of the more tech-enabled parts of law enforcement or government agencies, and so it's really like genuinely one of these. Privacy is increasingly something we're struggling with in the West, but if you just go look like slightly east, like Eastern Europe, there is like so many abuses of privacy which lead to like real tangible negative outcomes for people. The most harrowing I can think of pretty recently was from Myanmar. So Myanmar is obviously run by a military junta, and
really?
Yeah. There's the military's in charge over in Myanmar, and the telecom in Myanmar, they passed information of activists, specifically like some quite high-profile activists, to the military. Myanmar used to be like a democracy. The former leader, before they were ousted, won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, and it was like on the way to becoming a civil society, a liberated society. But the military took control, and this telecom company, which was holding all this personal information about activists, handed this to the military, and the military went in. It's not a nice country. They arrested activists, and one of the most high-profile ones was taken into jail after 3 days, faced a military tribunal because there's military courts going on at the moment, didn't see his family, and he was hung. And so there is like real serious ramifications around who you decide to entrust with information about you. I know, maybe in the West, we're not too worried about the military coming after us, but there is, large parts of the world where, well, you never know. There is large parts of the world where you can see the impact of a lack of privacy, and like in the most extreme cases, like people die, people lose money, people are like, it's a massively chilling effect on freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Like you can get extorted, you can have some pretty heinous stuff happen to you, and so if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that privacy is normal, and it's a right that you almost have a civil duty to exercise.
Good point. That's such a good point, and that's exactly the tone I think that we should send the audience off with, because it is something that we should start exploring and realizing that is a part of the game. And I don't want to get too political, but I think in a reality in which a lot of our rights are at threat, literally, to say the least. I will call it this way, like to say the least, they are at threat. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also like simpler stuff, like you shouldn't be able to see what I've been buying online. Like there's also like fairly basic applications of it that are less dramatic. And so yeah, privacy is great. Use it.
Indeed, guys. Nathaniel, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Shout out to you, to Amin, you, Zach. You said was there.
Yeah, Zach Cole.
We'll be very happy to connect with him again as well. By the way, and man, shout out to you guys for building such important instruments for all of us to use, and I really salute you, as they say, and I hope that you guys will be able to make it as big and as mainstream as. But I think most of all, what I want to hope for you guys and for all of us, for that matter, is that this kind of stuff becomes normal, clear, understood, goes without saying. You should have privacy, and this is the kind of perception that we should actually have, that really much more coexists and aligns with values that we actually have in the industry, sovereignty and I don't know, liberty, independence. The more you start thinking about it, you realize how dumb it is that it's not already obvious. But just like we've been saying about other issues as well, if we don't stand up for our rights, who will? In Hebrew we say, by the way, im en ani li mili. It means if I am not for me, who is for me? You know what I mean? So it's first of all upon us. Thank you for being with me and the audience here, Nathaniel, on this Leil Shishi, on this night of Friday, discussing privacy. Shout out everyone. Go follow Nathaniel and the 0x Bow and 0x Privacy Pools, privacypools.com. Go and make some of your funds private. A big shout out again to Frankencoin, our sponsors. Let me just pull it up on screen again if I can. Where is it?
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Also, go follow Leviathan News.
Thank you very much. And by the way, I will show you and the audience as well our weekly auction, just like Frankencoin has won the previous. I actually won the previous auction for Frankencoin. But the Llama Party tomorrow will be broadcasting the final hour or so of this ongoing Squid Pass. 13 hours to go. I hope you are seeing it. And if you win the Squid Pass, by the way, you should go on Fractal and have either Squid or WFRX ETH if you want to bid. Hopefully, we will also be making it more accessible in the future. But for now, if you want to participate, get some funds on Fractal and preferably Squid or WFRX ETH. And what you get is our Telegram NX pinned posts for the week, our QR code, and a shout out on our live stream, just like today with Frankencoin. So much respect to you guys. Go check out our pinned tweet as well about them. And of course, Nathaniel Fried, great PFP there, by the way, if anyone. And guys, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and good night, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are.
Thank you very much.